Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Monday. Happy Monday night, the 15th. This would also be a time in 2 weeks from, or 3 weeks from now, 3 weeks from today, where we are coming on this pod, celebrating, reminiscing, breaking down what is a 1 week, first week down of college football. That's right, baby. Fall is here. College football right around the corner. BBP, Danco transmission. We're here to continue talking about it leading up to that big weekend. That means it's time to bring in two guys, two pals, two Bearcat heads, two guys that know exactly what's going on with the red and black. Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel. Gentlemen, how are we?
Doing good on that camp grind. Just wake up, drive to higher ground, rinse, repeat.
Oh, baby. The camp time is set. Aaron, how are we?
Doing all right. I mean, kids start back to school on Wednesday, so it's the calm before the storm,
Okay.
if you will. So
Calm before the storm, but then the calm again, and then the storm when they get back from school, right? I imagine that's a roller coaster, rinse and repeat type ordeal.
they're with Dad today, so it's good. But the baby did just about about an hour ago, just shit all over me. So that was
wow,
that was super fun.
we're starting there, minute 30 in. I like it. Well,
Tell her I said good job.
Yeah. Tell her. Tell her. I hope that tar is coming out real strong. Right on. Old AA Ron Smith. But you know what? If
Skins is going to be very happy to hear that.
I'm sure.
I know that target that he bought you is working quite well. He already knows how to aim. But no, if something else is leaking and stuff's coming out all over you, I would say you head to Danco Transmissions. Get that car checked out. Give him a shout out. Say little baby Brennix. Say Aaron Smith, Mr. Chatty B. Just throw it out there. Tell Danco Joe we sent you. Give you $10 off and it'll change 10% off any fixing. And yeah, just go from there. Danco Transmission. But man, Aaron, throwing sludge on the walls. That's kind of what some of the AP voters tend to do at times when they throw sludge at the wall and see where certain spots fit. I think I counted 14 possibly guys who threw sludge at the wall, and none of them landed on the Bearcats, the number 4 team in last year's final AP poll, and now currently unranked on a lot of different pollster sites, but ranked as high as number 10 actually. But
by John Wilner.
By Wilner nonetheless.
Wow.
Ranked enough to the point where they are now sticking in there at 23. That's 3 consecutive years in the AP top 25 to begin the season. Gentlemen, kind of the same as last week before that big bomb came about the Big Ten. You know, they tend to like to throw out certain things to get us off kilter. But last week it was the coaches poll. This week it's the AP poll. Bearcats find themselves on both polls. Arkansas at 19, so that is a bona fide, guaranteed ranked versus ranked matchup in week 1 for the Bearcats as they travel to Fayetteville. I agree. It is a big yawn, Chad. I agree. It is a big yawn for the AP poll, but just initial reactions. Third straight season, ranked versus ranked. Is it a lot about nothing, or is it something where, you know what, you got to start ranked if you want to continue to climb?
I mean, it's a perception deal. It doesn't move the needle much for me just because I don't really put much stock into preseason rankings, because generally there's a group of 7 teams that every year find themselves in the preseason rankings, and then by week 4, they have exited said preseason rankings.
Very true.
So I don't put a ton of weight on it, but obviously it's better to be ranked than not to be ranked. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's good for perception. It's good for, you have your name on the scroll. You get talked about more in the post-game shows and the pre-game shows and all of that jazz. It doesn't bother me, although I will say, aren't we at a point where Luke Fickell's earned a little bit more respect than 23? Like, maybe we're still in that process. Maybe there's a bunch of voters mad that Luke Fickell isn't the head coach at their school.
You got a good point.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm just throwing out. We're in conspiracy theory. Aaron loves conspiracy theories. He's mad at the world. He hates everything. His
aluminum foil hat is somewhere around there, right? In one of those lockers.
Always keep it in your back pocket.
Okay. Fair. But Chad, kind of to your the route that you're going on here. 18 AP voters left the Bearcats off their top 25.
Come on.
Guess what? 2 of them, Dustin Dopirak and Mike Bernardino. Dustin is the Indiana AP writer.
Yeah.
Mike is the Notre Dame AP writer.
You would think those Notre Dame guys would have a lot more respect for the Bearcats.
On top of that, especially like they named Buckner as their starting quarterback, so they're heading in the right direction now. But Mike
Buchner,
yes. Well, whatever. Anyway,
hey, I'm going to pronounce it how you spell it. If you want me to pronounce it Buckner, then you spell it Bukner. You spell it Buchner. You're Buchner.
Well, you could throw just like a KH in there, and that would still be the Buckner for you. But you know what? Either way. But how about this as well? Brett McMurphy, everyone's top AP guy.
Yeah.
Has Nebraska in the top 10, top 25 AP. Leaves off Cincinnati. Another funny one, Texas received a first place vote in the coaches poll. Texas, not in the AP poll to begin the season this year.
The AP folks are tired of getting burned by Texas every year.
Texas is back, though. They are back. They're absolutely back. Aaron, did you have any initial thoughts? I mean, how about that? Ranked versus ranked. That's always something when you throw up the slate, like you said, Chad, kind of how it goes on the ticker. You get a little bit more talk. Ranked versus ranked in the opening week is pretty big. That's only one of 3 games in the opening weekend. You got Oregon and Georgia. That's at that 3:30 slot. And then, of course, later on in the night at the old shoe up there in Ohio State, it's Ohio State versus Notre Dame. So, it's always good to have that number by your name. But what were your initial reactions?
I thought it was interesting that Arkansas went as high as they did by comparison. Also interesting to me that was it UCF that made the top 25, right? Not Houston?
No, that was just in one person's ballot the other day.
There's been a lot going on here today. But good to see the Bearcats in there. Like Chad said, it's always better to be ranked than to not be ranked. Right. But I don't know. I mean, I put absolutely nothing into preseason rankings. I think it's literally just for media purposes only to try and sell your first initial matchups. So it's whatever. I think that preseason rankings are a joke more than anything, but I always love any poll that doesn't have that school up 71, not at number 1. I'm all here for.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Why does Michigan get more of the benefit of the doubt than Cincinnati?
It's got to be
Big Ten
quarterback play.
It's not like their quarterback play was. I mean, aren't they in a QB battle there? Don't they have 2 guys?
Right, but I think once like established names, it's kind of just like I think people just dismiss the whole 9 players drafted thing and kind of look at it like, oh, wow, and Desmond Ridder was drafted high. He's a high name that everyone knows about. It's not easily to replace a Desmond Ridder at a school like Cincinnati historically, but this is not the historic. This is the Luke Fickell Cincinnati tenure. So, I think
wasn't Aiden Hutchinson a generational player?
I mean, I would say not as much as Desmond Ridder, but yeah, I mean,
he was right there at the top of the draft, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yes. Hutchinson, yes. For some reason, I was still thinking about quarterbacks. But yeah, Hutchinson, yes. I'd say him and Sauce are comparable. No doubt.
I mean, and Michigan's 8th? Cincinnati's 23rd.
Right. I agree.
It's because it all goes back to their overinflated recruitment rankings. Because if you go to Michigan, you get a little bump. It's Big Ten bias, same as it always is. And this is again.
I think that might be maybe you need a little bump in your life.
This is
to solve some of your sleep issues.
But this is why I don't put anything into preseason rankings. None of it means anything. You're going to see bias all over the place, the same as you always do. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any reason to even have preseason rankings. Period.
People click on them. People talk about them. Exactly.
It's all bullshit. All of it.
Well, I think like you guys are saying, it's something to throw out there, obviously, and I mean
Notre Dame's 5 with Bobby Boucher at quarterback.
Yeah, Notre Dame's 5, and it's just
that guy. Look,
yeah,
that guy wouldn't win this job.
It was
against Evan Prater and Ben Bryant.
Every time he came out there, there's no doubt.
He wouldn't win this job.
Yeah.
I don't think he beat Ben Bryant or Evan Prater.
I think it's easy to just put the teams up there because you won't get as much pushback.
But I think I'd start Brady Lichtenberg over that kid.
Okay. Sure. Why not keep diving deeper? I mean, what Jacob Hoying can probably give him a run for his money after some of the plays he's been throwing. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to watch because obviously kind of like
Jabari Taylor's a better quarterback than that kid.
True. Jabari has a prolific past. But kind of like what Aaron said though. Even when you do have an established returning quarterback, like a DJ Ugalele. Ugalele. Yeah, just trying there. But yeah, he came in, had a couple of good games.
He was terrible last
2 years
year.
ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. But then all of a sudden that puts him up there at 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden he struggles and they drop out. North Carolina was up there in the top 10 last year. Yeah, so a lot of things will shake and move throughout the early stretches of the first few weeks. There's going to be a lot of movement, clearly. But it's always good to start ranked than unranked. I think obviously you see an easier chance to rise, especially if you start with a win on the road against a team ranked higher than you. I don't think it's going to be a simple flip-flop thing. I think it'll be something where Cincinnati will see a pretty steady rise, pretty quick rise, and then...
Yeah, but if you lose, they can just leave you out for a significant period of time.
Exactly. So that's why you got to win. Yes, I agree. If you lose, you're in the same situation that Houston was in last year when they lost to Texas Tech early in the season.
Arkansas is a little better than Texas Tech, but
absolutely. No, I agree. But it's just as far as the rankings go, where they say, okay, well, you lost your one big test at a conference. You beat an Indiana team at home, and then that's about it. You got to have a big win later on, maybe a win at the bounce house at UCF, and then you slide back in the rankings and work your way back up. But I agree, you got to win that opening game because that's the one where people will make the adjustments. A lot of people say that you start the rankings 4 weeks in would be a better determinator on exactly how the teams are looking instead of just throwing
even 2.
Yeah.
Even just to have some level of a base of knowledge of what these teams look like. Are you still going to get it wrong at that point in time? Yeah, because it's too early in the season. But even after a week or two. But again, we're talking about it. We're on 15 minutes now, right?
It was something that needed to be just mentioned. I'm done talking about it if you guys are, but I don't know.
I mean, I was done talking about it after I dropped that it was all bullshit. So,
yeah. I mean, I think you were done talking about it a minute and 30 in to the entire podcast. You were like, I don't want to talk more about this stuff that should be in diapers. Just let's carry on. Let's carry on. Well, speaking of carrying on,
our wayward son,
another good week.
Our daughter, I hear her in the background.
Or daughter.
Hi, Brennix.
Brennix is saying, I'm ready for round 2, Aaron.
Man.
Come get round 2.
Oh, let somebody else watch it.
Anyway, carrying on, though. That number 23 team, Chad, you were again at camp today. I was able to take in a day of practice, a Tuesday night under the lights, and the scrimmage on Saturday as well.
You've been in 2 practices since the last podcast. Like,
I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
I want some Brent observations.
Okay.
People get my stuff every day.
Should we switch the chairs? Is that what you guys do on the nightcap? Let's switch some chairs. Oh, there we go, Aaron. Drive the bus. Ask us both questions.
No, you.
Okay, ask me questions. I'm ready.
All right. So.
Well, wait. First, go to Galactic Fried Chicken. They have great chicken, great sauce. I haven't tried it yet because no one has invited me to go there with them, and I'm not going to go alone and walk in and say, Bearcat Journal.
I've gone alone twice.
I know.
Put your big boy pants on. You'll be fine.
It's a little different. I don't know.
So you went to practice.
How are you? Yeah.
You went to practice.
Yeah.
How was the weather?
Tuesday night was nice. It wasn't too bad, not too muggy. It had some little tiny bouts of a little bit of shall we say, added moisture in the air, and humidity got to me a little bit, but not too bad. And aside from that, the bugs were biting. They go to the sweet guys, so that means I have bites all over my legs. But other than that, weather was great. Saturday was great as well. Not too hot. Felt good.
All right. So you got to see the quarterbacks in action. You got to see the running backs in action. Running backs are a little different during a regular practice as opposed to the scrimmage.
Yeah.
But you got to see them at the scrimmage as well.
Right.
So as you look at these 2 battles, quarterback and running back, what were your takeaways first on the quarterback battle?
So Tuesday, Ben Bryant was a little limited, so I didn't get to see much of him on Tuesday at all. But on Saturday, I thought Ben looked really good. I thought he had the ability to kind of locate the ball a little bit more. I think, Dave obviously has done a good job writing about this from Saturday as well as, Chad alluding to it as well. He kind of seems like he has the ability to throw receivers open instead of, trying to find the receiver and then locate the ball there. I agree with that part a lot. I think that he, threw Shimon Mateer open on a deep ball. Also, threw open Nick Mardner on another deep ball with JQ dressed all over him. He kind of just has that definite gunslinger approach when it comes to the quarterback. Not gunslinger in the sense of he's going to, drop back and just pummel balls left and right, but more of can make most of the throws all over the field and fit it into tight windows, and at times challenge those tight windows. And I think that's the exact type of quarterback he is. But then Evan, similar thing on Saturday. Towards the end of practice, end of the scrimmage, he had some really good balls. Will Pauling over the middle was one that comes to mind, and he's always a constant threat with his legs. Something that you mentioned as well on Tuesday night. I was saying, I mean, that's something that you can't really show in practice is when the bright lights are on and it's 3rd and 7, is Ben Bryant going to be able to see an opening and bust it up the field for a 7-yard gain if the coverage is kind of all locked in, or because Evan Prater more than likely will be able to if the opening's there, but also how much you want them running, this, that, and the other. But I mean, it's a clear QB battle. You can see how both sides definitely have certain edges at different moments. But, Ben looked really good on Saturday, and there's no way I could disagree with Dave calling him the dude of the day.
So right now, if the decision was yours to make, who would you be going with?
You know what? I have until September 3rd to make that decision. So that is not one I'm going to be making right now on August 15th.
All right. Running back, another position that is definitely up for grabs. So what were your takeaways on Tuesday and Saturday?
Corey Kiner's got that it factor. He really does. You can just see he brings a little bit more to it when he's out on the field. He got stuck pretty strong by JQ Hardaway on Tuesday night's practice, and it was the hit hurt around Indiana, I guess you could say, and it was one that JQ. So don't bring that on Saturday. It's not quite right now, but he bounced back up from that, and he just looks like one of those guys that when you finish a run and you kind of just roll and you get right back up and you're ready for the next snap type guy. You know what I mean? He's never like slow to get up. He's always just ready for the next play. Finds open hole really well. My favorite play that he had was one against it. It was inside the 20. It might have been inside the 15. And he had it on the outside. Ivan Pace, good pursuit on him. And Corey kind of just cut back and lowered his shoulder, kind of a stiff arm as well, a little shiver maybe, and kind of just flattened Ivan Pace, and the whole crowd went wild, if you will. Pretty much media row was like, ooh. And it looked good. But aside from that, I mean, Chuck was getting a lot of runs with the ones. He looks like he's getting that burst back. Ryan Montgomery, of course, is working his way back. Miles Montgomery, had that little botch with a pitch, him and Prater, and then he responded with a 35-yard touchdown run later on in the day, which is probably the best run of the entire Saturday scrimmage.
That had some Jerome Ford to it, boy.
Yeah, it did. He found a crease and didn't hesitate and just hit it and then turned on the burners, and he was past the defense. So that really shows his strength. And then your boy Stephen Bird, man, he's a big dude, big dude back there, and Brady's excited to get his hands on Stephen and see what he can turn him into.
I laugh when you said that media row said "ooh," because I can picture exactly who was probably the people making those noises.
Chat can agree. Everyone was woo.
It was it was an impressive play.
Okay. I feel like there's some people who weren't saying anything and some who were saying ooh. Oh, but I digress.
I said woo. I was part of the woo.
In
crowd.
No way, shape, or form does that surprise me. So after watching practice, as we were still sticking on the offense, if you had to start 3 receivers right now, who would you be looking at as the favorable winners of that? More the third spot.
Tyler and Trey.
Sure.
Pretty easy. And by the way, those guys they're just rocks out there. You can just it's crazy to think they're kind of the exact same type of like build and look. Trey's a little bit more stout, I would say, but man, that's going to be a lot to handle for some teams out there, especially with like some pick routes. I think Tyler Scott had a touchdown on a bit of a pick route in the red zone that I really liked, which is something that I don't think the team ran too much of, but looks like they were trying to implement a little bit more. And then third will be Martner for me, Nick Martner. I think he's turning heads for me. He got interviewed and he kind of was able to say things along the lines of I was brought in here to win jump balls, use my body, and do whatever it takes to help the team win. And he's doing that. He's absolutely doing that. I think his size is an absolute difference maker. And he's starting to show that he can run some routes, and he has a lot more, he brings a lot more value to the team just than a jump ball guy in the red zone. He's showing that he can do a lot more out there at wide receiver. And then when you have a Jaden Thompson and you also have something else as in, a Chris Scott who had a big catch today, Chad, I want to hear a little bit more about that, because Chris Scott, he was, had to, towards the end of the scrimmage, it looked like he was, helped off the field a little bit, but now he's bouncing back. Good to see that he's back full steam. I want to hear how
he wanted to go in to end the scrimmage.
Yeah.
And they were like, easy, Tiger. Basically, the word they have no clue how he didn't tear his ACL, but he didn't. Like it was your quintessential non-contact, like plant injury, and he collapsed in a heap, and we were all like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
because he's having a great camp. He's been running some with the ones. He's probably your most sure-handed wide receiver option, and boom, he was back out there today. Caught one over the shoulder on about a 45-yard throw from Ben Bryant and took it to the house, 65-yard touchdown. It was pretty.
And he's got that edge to him, He's
yeah.
He's a guy that on that play that he kind of got little hurt on or whatnot on Saturday. It was one where some receivers might pull up and not try and go for the catch because it was kind of in the middle of a field congested area. But he's a guy that's going to go all out. I mean, you saw in the spring game when he was held out just for precautionary reasons. Jamal Williams had like a scoop and score, and there's him just running down the field. It's just the way that he's a gamer. I think is something that the whole team admires, and I think that's why everyone talks so highly about him. Will Pauling is another name I want to mention because he had super splash.
Quietly had a really good camp. I mentioned that the other day.
Oh yeah. Well, he like made a big splash. His true freshman season, in spring camp, I believe is when he was getting a lot of pub.
That's true.
And then of course,
and also in at Higher Ground going into his freshman season,
right.
But he was quiet this year in spring ball.
Right. He's catching a lot of balls. He looks like he's ready to make a big impact. I could see, man. Just imagine just confusing the crap out of some defensive coordinators when you have 6'6", 270 Josh Wiley going down, and you got to defend that, and then quickly they run in Will Pauling at the same position, running a different route. They've got to just start freaking out, not really sure. Okay, how are we going to defend this now? They're bringing in this guy who's shifty as all get out. We can't keep the same guy on him. It's a very good luxury to have.
And that brings me right to my next question, which would be about the tight ends. As you bring up Wiley, as you bring up, scheming for things that you can't stop. So do you think we're going to see some 3 tight end sets this season? And how often do you think we're going to see 3 tight end sets? Because it's going to be terribly difficult to keep Wiley, Lenny, and Shimon Mateer all off the field.
There was 12 and 13 personnel a few times at the scrimmage. I think the most important aspect of that is that the whole K position that was kind of, implemented last season is I think that's alive and well this year, where you could put Josh Wiley out and treat him as a wide receiver spread out. And then you can have Lenny even spread out, put as a wide receiver, even Shimon too. And I mean, you saw 12 personnel kind of right away at the scrimmage, and the defense had to respond by putting Ivan Pace on the field and taking out Taj Ward. But I mean, they have just so many weapons, man. And Shimon has had a somewhat quiet fall camp. I think it's because, obviously, Josh is back and Lenny is Lenny. So that kind of just slides him a little bit down the totem pole. But aside from that, Shimon had a great diving catch where Ben Bryant threw him open, but it takes a really good player to jump up and snag that ball as you're falling to the ground. So Shimon flashed on Saturday, and I think, get as much, 13 personnel as you can out there. And even Peyton Singletary had a couple of good plays as well. So, it's
he always does. Like, that guy is just always producing. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's showing that the up next is just right there. The Yahoo Sports, the podcast chat. I'm slipping on the name right now. The
College Football Inquirer.
The College Football Inquirer. Yeah. They drafted their top, non-conference games. I was just listening to it real quick before we came on. And one of the picks, it was like one of the top 10 non-conference games, was Cincinnati at Arkansas, and they and Pat Forty jumped on, and Pat Forty is what he is, but he jumped on. And he said, I think the Bearcats aren't getting as much love as they deserve because all these players that are filling in for the 9 players that got drafted and the other players that moved on to the NFL and whatnot, they're all being replaced by high level players. We just don't know the names of them yet. And
they don't know the names of them.
Well, I was kind of just like direct quoting Pat Forty, but and so it's just, that'll be exactly when you see a player like Shimon Mateer, who they're like, who is a 3rd string tight end coming in? And then you see randomly maybe Peyton Singletary's in because Josh Wiley's out for 1 or 2 snaps, and Peyton comes in with a 13-yard reception or something along those lines. So, I mean, it's a deep talented tight end room, and it's blatantly obvious both days.
Thank you for the donation, Richard. We appreciate it, as always, sir. That brings me to offensive line.
Yeah.
So offensive line, and I know it's always one of the harder positions to watch when you're watching, on the offense, because they're not the guys making the big flashy plays, the big sexy plays,
Right.
all the time. So what stood out to you as you took in the offensive line? And I especially wanted to make sure we mention this, as it appears one of the linemen's parents are in the chat right now.
Well, I thought that the offensive line, the whole mantra of iron sharpens iron is something that you hear every single player mention whenever they're interviewed. The coaches mention it continuously. And it's blatantly obvious when the defensive line is going up against the offensive line. Those are three grown men across that defensive line just going at it every single day. And from what I was able to take away on Tuesday, it was like the defensive line was doing a great job kind of owning the line of scrimmage. And, when you throw on the full pads and the defensive line is kind of in a groove, and, the offense is kind of just throwing out plays left and right instead of scripting things and kind of, attacking weaknesses of the opponent and game planning, the defense is going to have an advantage in those situations, especially on the defensive line. When the defensive line has gotten Evan Prater and Ben Bryant's cadence down to a T now, and they kind of know, okay, this is going to be go time. There's really no hiding the snap count or whatnot. It's kind of like, okay, and they know when you line up a certain way. They know offensive lineman tendencies at this point. They know, hey, if he's dipping his shoulder this way or that way, I'm going to attack this or that. But the way that the defensive line is doing that is just strengthening the offensive line as well. I thought Saturday the offensive line did a really good job. Defensive line still gave them everything they had, but I'm all about cohesion on the offensive line. And you heard today, Renfro was talking about having, Dylan O'Quinn next to him at the guard position. He really likes that feeling. And the Huber is just making some big, big moves on that right side as well. So, from what I was able to see, if I kind of like the quarterback position where the staff wants to have something kind of solidified so they can work on the cohesion, work on coming up with, an identity, I think is what Chad called it, and kind of able to have, this is what we're going to be rolling into week one. I think it's even more important to do so on the offensive line as well. So
I think there's an offensive line situation this week that's more important than anything you've mentioned.
I'd say Gavin Gerhart
at left guard. Gavin Gerhart is making a charge.
Yeah.
To be the starting left guard. I talked to Renfro about it today. He said Gavin took 90 plus snaps.
Right.
On Saturday because
he was
rotating
right
between the second team at center and the first team at right guard. And I know the staff,
right guard or left guard?
Left guard, sorry. The staff has been thrilled with Gavin Gerhart and feel like he deserves an opportunity to prove, like he deserves an opportunity not to be pigeonholed in as just the backup center.
Right.
Because he was a guard. And the only reason the center thing happened was because they didn't have a backup center. Right. So Gavin
Jakari
spent all of last year. Jakari left. Gavin Gerhart spent all of last year learning how to play center. And then the spring, with Renfro out, he proved he was pretty good at it. He proved he had he had worked, he had put in the time, he had taken it serious, and he had become a competent first team center.
Right.
I don't remember really anywhere in the spring where we were like, boy, and obviously they really need to get Renfro back, but I don't remember any time specifically where we were like, man, they really have to get Renfro back for this team to reach its potential. And now they've given him a chance to compete at guard, and he has quickly made that a competition with the incumbent in Jeremy Cooper. That one is becoming one of the more interesting camp battles because you're starting to see a lot more Gavin Gerhart running with the ones at left guard. So that one's great. The Joe Huber story is great, and I spent a lot of time today, and his dad Jim is in here talking to Jim in the DMs, getting more of the story because obviously Joe is very quiet. From his silence comes violence, which I don't know how that's not a shirt. Like
one of the coolest
Jim
sayings out there.
Jim says he's making shirts, but like we need to get Joe a 513 shirts deal. From his silence comes violence. Like, where's Mike? Are you in here? If Mike's in here, we need to get that ball rolling before somebody else jumps in and picks that bad boy up. But his dad told me he didn't play a varsity snap in high school until his senior year. And there was even some talk, like in the family, like, are you really gonna play this year? And he did. And clearly that worked out well. And his dad made a great point. His dad made a great point. Kids like Joe have been drastically impacted by the early signing day. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, like, we look at this class now. This class was wrapped up essentially before we even got to August.
Right.
So guys that have a big senior year, like a late bloomer, a guy that really comes on late, mm-hmm. like a Joe Huber did in his final year of high school football, the spots are full. Yeah. Like teams aren't really looking anymore. Like unless a team missed, or they had a kid decommit or whatever the case may be, they're not really on the market for like under the radar guys that had big senior years. So that's kind of how he fell under the radar. And I guess the defensive coordinators, his defensive coordinator's brother at the high school he was at, was a graduate assistant at Cincinnati. So he came to watch his brother play and was like, whoa, who's this guy right tackle? Like, right. might need to take a look at that. And then got him in touch with Ron Crook, and that's his path to becoming a walk-on at UC. Wrestler, which we know Luke Fickell loves. One of those kids, he didn't tell the full story today. Like he built up, he wasn't like Ethan Green was a big time wrestler from his freshman year all the way through. Joe Huber had like a gradual climb, mm-hmm. and by his senior year got good, qualified for states, and then 2 days before state, COVID wiped out the state wrestling tournament, so he didn't even get to compete at state his senior year. But just a great story of a kid that continued to work. He's only the third wrestler in Dublin Jerome history to make it to states. Both sides of the ball, team MVP, first team all district, first team all conference, third team all state, and a kid that just continued to work and put the work in. I know, just from talking to the guys, his teammates love him.
Yeah.
Because he's just a guy that does everything you ask of him, doesn't have a thing to say, and just bullies people on that right side of the line. And for me, what I love is, he had the door open to opportunity. Mets had surgery on his ankle. That opened up a spot in the spring. So he stepped in at right guard in the spring, and then through the summer continued to develop. They tried him at right tackle to start camp. And he has kind of retained that spot and hasn't let it go. And I love that stuff, man. I love seeing a kid that put in the work behind the scenes, earned the trust of his teammates, and has quickly become like a team favorite for what he has put in, the work he has put in, and the meteoric rise. Like generally when you see like walk-on lineman starts getting run, that's in like year 4, year 5, right? Like they've been around forever.
Right.
Finally rewarded at the end of their career.
Right.
It happened with Garrett Campbell. It just so happened that he played 8 years. So by year 5, he's in the rotation. Then he got 4 more years of playing. I I like messing even more with Garrett now than I normally do because I found out his girlfriend's mom, and we've shouted her out on this podcast before. I found out his girlfriend's mom is a regular viewer of this podcast, and she texts Gavin every time that we mention his name. So
Garrett, yeah. So
Garrett, sorry.
You're good. But no, I completely agree. And also the whole wrestling thing, once you're able
Karen Kelly. Karen Kelly is her name. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Thank you for listening.
But yeah, once you get past your wrestling career and you decide you aren't going to continue going that route, then the weight limit restrictions kind of get lifted, and you have the ability to then fill out your 6'5" frame that you carry as well. And
instead of 230, you're 260 or 270. And if you look at Joe in the video today, like he carries the weight well.
Yeah. In the way that Jake Renfro was saying on your interview, that he it sounds like he works out. He works in the shadows, if you will, just kind of
another engineering major. We love those guys.
Exactly. When
maybe not as talkative as one of our other engineering major friends that is going to be joining this podcast on Monday nights in a couple weeks.
Right.
Maybe a little bit more quiet than him.
Yeah, a little bit. But you know what, Chad, but you know what? From his silence comes violence. That's just phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Oh man, I like that so much. But yeah, it just works in the shadows and comes out into the light. And now he's firmly in the light. And the iron sharpens iron continues, because now Metz is getting a absolute push for his money. He's learning, how to really anchor down at the right tackle position, on top of knowing how to do right guard in this offense with Mike Cummings.
Well, and he's pretty, he's going to be at right tackle now with Cam Jones out.
Yeah.
They don't have another right tackle really to mix in. So, but luckily, luckily the thing is, on that right side, all three of those guys can play both positions.
Yeah.
Between O'Quinn, between Joe Huber, and between Metz.
Yeah.
You can move them. That's when you're talking about depth, especially on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. It's also about versatility.
Vinny McConnell is
exactly. He could have bounced to 3 or 4 different spots on the line.
Right.
So I think you feel pretty good. Metz is still, I think, getting his confidence back on that ankle. Look, that is as large of a human as you'll ever see. And to have an ankle all the way down at the bottom that's supporting 6'8", 6'9", 330 pounds, you got to build not just the strength in your ankle, but you have to build your confidence up in getting back out there and being able to move and play in space and do all the things that you have to do as an offensive lineman. So,
and then that's when you also throw in the fact that Lawrence Metz is pretty new to playing the game of football, and of course playing on the offensive line as well. So it's not only is it getting trust in that ankle, it's getting trust of playing football and offensive line while dealing with that sort of an injury as well. So it's a luxury to have kind of Joe Huber fall right into the lap of Mike Cummings. And it's another situation where, I'm not saying it would have been the case, but you get a fresh face in there in the offensive line room, and now all of a sudden you're seeing who is this Huber guy? This guy is working his tail off. He's coming out here and he looks really, really good whenever we put him in these situations. So let's give him a little bit more run. And now you have the situation that you have right now. So
right.
It's exciting. But I think that's probably the one group that is most excited to hit an opposing team, if you will, to go up against an opposition that doesn't have CPAW on their helmet as well. So,
well, and that again transitions me very easily into another group that wants to hit an opposing team, your defense. And as we flip to the other side of the ball, let's talk defensive line. As we talk defensive line, I think everybody has a pretty good idea that it's going to be Jabari Taylor, Malik Vann, Juwan Briggs, maybe not in that order as far as the line goes.
Briggs better watch himself.
Well, so that's what I wanted to get to, was who impressed you as far as the backups because I know some of the guys that are backing up this defensive line are beginning to make some waves.
Well, on Tuesday, it was actually Jabari who was playing on the outside and on the inside at the same time. It was very strange. Wasn't that strange, Chad? Having
No,
a
he
90,
wasn't.
having a 90
No,
on the outside and on the inside.
No,
Oh, wait,
no, he
no.
wasn't.
Oh, no, wait. That was
No,
not
he wasn't.
That was not Jabari. That was
That
actually
was not the
none
Jabari on
other
the
than-
inside was an imposter.
none other than Dante Corleone. That guy is he's a load.
Charging
man.
hard. Like
He is a load.
You can't move him. I talked to Renfro about that today. Like it's not with Briggs. It's
moves
his
you.
ability to move you. With Corleone, it's your inability to move him.
Yeah,
he doesn't budge. Like I'll see the Gerhart, Renfro. They'll get their hands on him, and it's just like we're staying right here.
Standoff.
I'm not going that way.
no.
No matter what you do, no matter how hard you push, no matter how hard you try.
He is anchoring
sorry,
down.
this
Good
is
luck
a
to
Brent
move him.
segment.
No. I mean, you're right though. But yeah, he was wearing the number 90 on Tuesday. I think his might have gotten ripped or something.
A lot of holding has been going on inside.
Needing repairs.
Yeah.
That was when Malik was wearing number 4, which he should make the switch to 4. He looks like a lean pass rushing machine with number 4 on. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, I mean, Dante Corleone is the easy answer to that. He's making some moves up the depth chart. I think obviously Eric Phillips is another name that I would mention. I had him down for a sack in the scrimmage on Saturday. He just looks like a guy who, it's his time now. Kind of, along the lines of a Jabari Taylor, if you will, of a Curtis Brooks and, Elijah Ponder. You keep going back. Eric Phillips kind of seems like it's his time to step up and take that extra role. Noah Potter, he flashed in the scrimmage as well. I had him down for a sack. Looks like he's another one of those guys that transfers in, Darian Beavers, Juwan Briggs, Noah Potter, where it might take a little while for them to, kind of just play without thinking, just go out there and just play how you know how to play. And it seems like he started to grasp that a little bit more in the scrimmage.
Well, you got to remember, he wasn't here in the spring.
Right. No, yeah.
This is, when he got to higher ground, those are the first real snaps he's taken as a Bearcat. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Like Justin and I have talked a lot about at practice, like waiting for the Noah Potter, like when is that push going to come from Noah Potter? And over the past week or so, past 4, 5, 6 practices, each day we've started to see a little bit more and a little bit more from him. So that's good.
I mean, last year his eyeball fell out.
Ouchie.
That's a tough one to see coming. But anyway, so yeah. But hey, he's back. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring. A lot of excitement. But good job there, Chad. But anyway, so the one thing I liked, speaking of Justin, he had a good article on the D-line as well. And kind of some things that Jabari was saying was that, they might not have that speed rusher on the outside, but they have 3 guys who work their tails off, who are strong as all get out, and who are smart, that know how to play the game of football the way that they need to with their size and with their skills. And, not every time is that, speed rushing around the tackle and looping and coming in for a sack. Sometimes it is collapsing the pocket. Sometimes it is, putting your guy right into the face of the quarterback. And
well, that's potentially, I think that's the big thing, right? Is the best way to get a pass rush, the best way to sack a quarterback consistently is to remove his ability to be comfortable in the pocket.
Right.
And then let everything else kind of play out as that happens.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of that between Briggs and between Damo, Perry, and between Corleone. There's going to be pressure up the middle.
Right.
And Curtis Brooks. That defense was at its best last year when Curtis Brooks and Marcus Brown impacted the pocket straight up the middle, and then everything else happened around.
Yeah, so I rewatched the Notre Dame game a few weeks ago, and at the end of the game, it was the power rushing front of Jabari, Malik, and I don't know if it was Curtis in the middle or
Brown.
Not. It might have been Brown,
one of those two.
But yeah, they were flipping, and those are the ones that were getting the heavy pressure on at the end when it was crunch time for Notre Dame, and that was when Malik got a half sack and broke his finger, and that was when Jabari also got a half sack late in that game. So I mean they've done it before, and it's going to be something that we see every Saturday. And then if you're able to rotate in, players like Eric Phillips, who's going to bring a little bit more speed probably and a little dynamic on the outside. You bring an absolute rock that you cannot move in the middle, and then you bring on the other side potentially Noah Potter or Justin Watley, who had made some plays as well. It's not. I don't think the depth's quite there yet, but man, it is right there knocking on the door, and especially with Dom Perry Dom Perry too, but with Dante Corleone and Eric Phillips.
Well, so defensive line clearly impressive as a unit, but moving to an even more impressive unit in my eyes is the linebacker position.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to position you with this question.
Ready.
Can you recall a more, I guess, a better linebacker group than this linebacker group for Cincinnati? Like, is there another linebacker group that you were this excited to see on the field? I mean, they could be maybe the best linebacker unit that this team's ever had.
Yeah, I mean, last year, obviously.
We have to go back 1 year.
Yeah. And, I mean, Darren Beavers and Jordan Blanco, they're both getting snaps at, in NFL preseason games and in training camps. So that would be the easy answer.
Part of that group, and Pace and Van Fossen were part of that group.
Yep. Jaheim when needed as well.
Yeah. The answer is last year, Aaron.
That's where I disagree, because I think I'm more excited about this unit than I was last year.
Just being more excited doesn't mean that they're better.
Well, my question was,
more excited.
Do you recall a linebacker unit that you've been this excited for?
Yes, last year.
I was not as excited last year as I am this year. I was very excited last year.
Right.
But I think that this is, I don't know. Like I said, I think this has a chance to be the best.
Aaron, I'm hiding because this is Brent's segment. Like I'm giving Brent some shine, but I still talk too much, so it's not really working.
No, you're
that
a
question
great talker.
For the YouTube users. That question came from a Twitch user, UCF superfan.
But
UCF superfan is a regular here. Hi, UCF superfan.
The Golden Knights,
the
Very
Knights
good.
of Gold.
There we go. But yeah, I mean, I think back as well to players like Darrell White and Perry Young. Those are some linebackers that got me excited, But now you've got players like Jaheim Thomas, and it's kind of like what Dave said on the BCJ pod, and I pointed it out to Chad. I was like, these dudes are huge, and Chad was like, well, yeah, they're big, and I was like, no, I'm talking about these two in general, and it was Wilson Huber and Jaheim Thomas standing next to each other, and they are both that it's like two Darian Beavers out there. If you remember how just physically and athletically imposing Darian Beavers was last year.
Darian Beavers and Joel DeBlanco standing next to each other.
Well, I think Huber's got a little bit more height to him, and I think like
DeBlanco's DeBlanco was a big dude.
Oh yeah, dude,
DeBlanco was not a small linebacker.
Anything about Joel? No way. I was a big Joel advocate.
On a side note, how about him leading the Seattle Seahawks in tackles a week after getting signed by the Seattle Seahawks?
It's Joel DeBlanco. What would you?
That's what he does, is tackle people.
The robot, man.
That's all he like. I will tackle you.
I'm not certain that he wasn't engineered by Alec Pierce to play on the football team.
Pearson,
and Royer
came up with that one.
Well, Royer gave him the personality.
Joe Huber is their intern.
Just saying.
John
Williams coming in every once in a while. No, I
think John Williams is aerospace engineering, so it's a different When they send Joel to the moon, it's going to be John Williams.
He's out there in space somewhere. But yeah, no, I agree. So the thing is with this group though, it's like, so you have Jaheim, who is clearly going to be used a lot in that pass rushing off the edge, because when 12 personnel was out there, they bumped Jaheim out to that stand up end, and they brought Ivan Pace in. But there's a name for you, Ivan Pace. I mean, that guy is
wrecking ball.
He's like Darrell White plus 50 pounds. Like it is crazy seeing what Ivan Pace does out on the football field, because you would see that big guy and you'd be like, why isn't he lining up over the center and getting down in a 3-point stance? Instead, you see him
moving in space,
blitzing a gap, running down a tackle, unless it's Corey Kiner and he does a quick move and lays the shoulder into you. But just joking. But anyway, Ivan is going to give the ability for Jaheim to never get tired, to constantly be going. And a name that we kind of just like throw out there in Wilson Huber, like we don't really mention Wilson Huber too much outside of just like knowing that he's going to be a rock in the middle. But that guy, his sideline to sideline is great. He knows what he's doing out there, and he has all the confidence in the world. He's truly a leader of the defense on top of it all. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a scary second level. And then when you have players like Jonathan Thompson and Jack Dingle, making plays, I mean, it's a linebacker room where, whenever you talk to Coach Tressel and you see him in interviews, he's got a different little oomph to his step. Even warming up on Saturday, it just looked like he's got a little bit more of a bravado feel to him. And it might just be the comfortability of it being year 2 with him at defense coordinator.
I'm sure there's definitely something to be said for that.
Right. Or it could also be the fact that he's got some really quiet, high-level confidence in this group that he's got, because, I mean, Deshaun Pace and Ty Van Fossen, you return those two after what they did last year. I mean, it's just everything else added on top of that is just more luxury, and it's really, really good.
All right, so the next position I want to talk to you about is cornerback, as there's been a lot of dudes flying around at cornerback. We've heard from Chad that the 1s and the 2s, I mean, receivers getting work regardless of who's in, whether it's the 1s, whether it's the 2s, whether it's 1s and 2s, whether it's 2s and 1s, whatever.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts walking away from Tuesday and Saturday on that particular position?
You know what? I do think, and I think Chad would agree with this, I do think that the group will let up some catches that we aren't used to seeing. But there are times where I thought every single cornerback was as good in coverage as, you would really want a starting cornerback on a high-level team like Cincinnati to be. Shepard, for example. On Tuesday, I thought that he wasn't, he didn't quite dominate the day on Tuesday, if you will. But I thought in the scrimmage he did a really good job bouncing back, and he made some good plays downfield. Knocked a would-be catch out of Jaden Thompson's hands early in the game. Had a couple of good deep contests on Nick Mardner and some other receivers. I thought that he got better as the day developed. JQ let up a touchdown to Nick Mardner, but then a little bit later he's making more plays in the secondary, and he is every bit as tall as Chad. I think someone was asking if he's legit 6'3", 6'4". I think he is in that 6'3" to 6'4" range, more than saying he's like 6'3", but really he's 6'1". He is a big dude. He is tall, long, athletic, and it's as he just continues to get more and more reps, he's only going to get better. And I think Arquan's the big one here. I think that you've got to rely heavily on Arquan week 1 against Arkansas, where if the Razorbacks come out and they kind of show their hand early in the game and they show what they're going to attack, well, you've got to tell Arquan, hey, it looks like they're really attacking the boundary a lot. And I don't know, bump him out there if need be or whatnot. But I think that early
I'm
in the
not ruling
season,
out him starting at boundary week 1.
Right. No, I agree. I guess if that transfer that they got in Hazelwood, I mean, if he is developing into a huge, piece of that Arkansas offense, and he looks like he's going to be, their boundary wide receiver and get a bunch of looks like they did last year, then yes, I think you've got to put Arquan on him and just say, hey, we've best on best. We gotta try and shut this down. So I think Arquan, Donk, San Fran. But yeah, I think
just stick with the tonk.
For those in the audio format, thanks for the donation, Tonk.
Yeah, Tonk.
I just wanted to get Brent to do the tonk.
Tonk. But anyway, I think Arquan's going to have a huge
stick to sports.
I'm trying, Mom. But yeah, I mean, I think Arquan's kind of the heartbeat of the cornerbacks, and I mean, I think everyone else is just like really solid. You know what I mean? There were a couple plays where there was nothing open, and a sack would have been a sack, but they obviously can't hit the quarterback, so a completion was made downfield. Different plays of that. It's kind of different in a game setting, obviously, but I think Arquan, you got to ride him for a while. But JQ's knocking on the door. I thought Shep had some good reps. Chad, you said Shep had the best day that you can remember today.
Yeah, he had a really good day today. I think he's continuously I know we all love the idea of JQ, and JQ has made plays every day of camp. But Shep is having a good camp, especially as we've gotten farther along in camp. I thought it was a little bit of a bumpy start.
Right.
But he's gotten better. I think he's gotten appreciably better as he continues to get the number one reps and continues to build that confidence. So that's going to be a fun, JQ's going to have to win that job. Shep's not giving it to him, which I think is great for JQ's development.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, I agree.
Because now it's not look, we have to give the young kid a chance. Now it is the young kid gets a chance when the young kid earns the chance, which he's also doing every day. A sack today, an interception today, a couple passes defended today. JQ is rising to the occasion, but Shep is not iron sharpens iron, right?
Right.
I know this is why I love Fick. Tangent here. This is why I love Fick. It's not bullshit.
Right.
It's not brick by brick. It's not hold the rope. It is legitimate. We are going to get better every day because these guys are going to have to push each other every day, or they're going to get tossed aside.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is that after Shep on Tuesday, because he didn't blaze the world on fire on Tuesday when I was there. I mean, he could have withered and kind of been like, oh man, this freshman who everyone's talking up, he's really good on the outside. But no, I feel like he stepped his game up and he's going to match that. And you know what that only does on Saturdays? It makes the opposing team have to deal with we'll call it JQ Shepherd, the combo of them on the boundary. If Arquan does move to field, they've got to deal with Jaquan Shepherd and deal with JQ Hardaway. And then, you know what, if you got a game full of them at their highest level, just think when the fourth quarter rolls around, and it is crunch time for the opposing team. If you have a fresh cornerback, boundary cornerback who's been pushed all off season by the other and by this wide receiver group, I mean, that's when winning time happens. And if you have two guys that can do it, then that's all the luxury in the world.
So it's going to be one of the JQs.
How about that? There we go.
How about that?
Safety. I know you're going to have safety next, right?
It's going to be the last one, man.
Hicks looked really good on Saturday, I thought. Just a veteran, he just got that veteran feel to him where he knows what he's doing.
He should. He started for 3 years.
He doesn't have, he's not trying to be all flair out there. He had a good, tip on a ball that was intended for Josh Wiley that got intercepted by Big Jabari. He's just so steady. And then other than that, I think you just see so many other options at that second spot. You know what I mean? I think walking away from it, it's going to be threats to start off. The way that he just kind of throws his body around and flies around the field. And I know those are cliche statements, but I mean they're pretty true for him. He uses his body as a strength, and I think we'll see more of his effect when they do allow these guys to just all out hit, and that'll be at Arkansas. I think you'll see him lay some big hits pretty early in that one. But aside from that, I just think it's the defense as a whole. You know, like you had stars at safety all throughout the past few years, but this defense as a whole just kind of doesn't leave, at least from what I've seen, doesn't leave many opportunities for the safety out on an island all by themselves because of this, that, and the other. It just seems like the cohesion's already there across the board. I think threats as that level of athleticism and toughness that you want to see come up from that last level and hit a running back or, you know, hit a receiver over the middle and let them know, hey, don't come across the middle. Yeah.
To be fair, he got picked on a little today.
Okay.
We learned something today.
What's that?
Brian Threats is not big enough to cover Josh Wiley.
Oh, really? I thought that'd be quite the opposite.
You just learned that today.
Yes. Well, yes. Today was the first day that they really they were running a lot of blitz stuff today, and I'm not talking like sending 5.
Right.
I'm talking sending 7, 0 coverage, like man on man with no help. Like you're on your island.
Good luck.
You have to defend your guy. And his guy that he had to defend was Josh Wiley. And that was not a great matchup for Brian Threats.
Can't imagine that went well.
Well, you put David DeJulius up against Kalu Ezekbe in a rebounding drill. I think Kalu's going to come up with a lot of rebounds there.
Well, but the reality is, though, Threats is a safety. Part of his responsibility is going to be covering tight ends.
No, I agree. Also, Chad, do you think, though, the catch might be made if the pass rush doesn't get to the quarterback, but Threats more than likely will be bringing him down right away? You know what I mean?
That was not the case today.
Okay. Interesting.
Josh had a big day.
Okay.
Josh had a big day, and he did have a drop. I reminded of that after practice, and he said, Chad, we're supposed to be positive. We're supposed to be positive out here. Why are you always focusing on the negative?
And you should have said, because you're a freak, man. Because you're an absolute
I'm trying
freak.
to motivate you. I'm trying to motivate you. Like I'm here to motivate you.
No,
I don't
Josh,
think he didn't buy it.
Josh, you're a freak, man. You are. But no, I mean, I guess for me, I mean, that's an NFL.
I think Threats is going to be really good. Yes,
Yeah.
I think Threats is going to be really. I think he has that ability to move, to cover, to play in space, to be physical. Even though he's not a big kid, but he's had a really good camp.
Yeah.
Today he got picked on a little bit, and it's like everybody asked me, like, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about this? Look. We have a lot of content to fill here on Bearcat Journal right now. If it happens in practice, we're going to talk about it. That's just
accurate.
We don't have a choice. We got a lot of time to fill. We got a couple hours tonight. We got a lot more on Wednesday. We got nightcaps every night. We got practice reports every day. We got player videos. We got a lot of space to fill.
Right.
So we're going to talk about it. If you haven't heard about and to the guy that asked that, Mario Eugenio was running with the threes today and made a play.
Okay.
This is the first time I jotted him down in the notebook.
Also, Madden drops at midnight tonight, so there'll probably be some Twitch streams coming up soon. So
yeah, I haven't bought it. I haven't prepaid for it yet. I guess I need to get that done. Well, it's probably not going to be for another week or so for me, at least until I get out of camp.
And also with Mario, during warm-ups on Saturday, I was watching the D-line a little bit, and it was Malik Vann who was constantly on Mario the entire warm-up session.
Malik has definitely taken him under his wing. Some kids come in, they feel like they got to figure it out, and the old heads got to remind them. Like, we were you. and now we're us, and we need to get you to be us.
They call him Rio, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Rio. Yeah. It's a good nickname. Good movie. But anything else, Aaron?
It's dropping 2 letters off his name, man. Come on. Anything else? Yeah, I guess I want to hear what your final thoughts on special teams as a whole. Because I know kicker has been a little bit of a roller coaster. Not
Ryan Coe, don't you know?
Not crazy highs and lows, but I mean, there's been some movement. So just drop your thoughts on special teams as a whole.
Mason Fletcher, he is a beast.
Dog.
I think that they're not going to skip a beat. And Chad, I'm going to die on this hill that I still think it's going to be Trey Tucker and Tyler Scott as the Gunners.
They've been the number one Gunners. We are the number one Gunner podcast in the country. No other podcast in the country is talking about the Gunners on special teams.
It's an important position.
At all? No one at all.
No one at all. We are
the only one. Position.
Yeah, I mean, look, those two are as good as there is in the country at getting downfield and forcing fair catches.
Yep.
So here's the thing that's interesting with that. Those two are so good at it that you're almost not even risking anything by having them do it, because all they do is just run really fast and then stand next to the guy and wait for him to catch the punt. There's no collisions. There's no ill intent. There's, nothing bad comes of it. They just stand next to the guy, watch him catch the punt, and then they jog off the field and let the defense come on.
Yep. Drew Donnelly and Will Pauling were second team, and I could easily see both.
Those two guys are also really fast and could be very good at that role as well.
Right.
I just want to point out to Steven Chenault, who asks, what's next, talking about the long snapper? If they were the best in the country at long snapping the ball, you're damn right. We would talk about the long snapper.
I'd say Casey Pfeiffer's up there, right?
Looks like a Bond villain still. He actually looks like a guy I went to high school with. Don Juan, we used to call him. Don Juan. Yeah. He looks like Don Juan. Every time I see him, I flash back to high school and my buddy Don.
I
used to have an Akita, and one time when we were older, I went to I had gone on vacation, and I came back with some funky sunglasses, and I walked into his house, and Nala, his Akita, was like, I don't recognize that dude with the sunglasses, and she jumped up and precision action with her mouth took the sunglasses off my face without biting my face, and then she was like, Chad, why didn't you say so? Good to see you, buddy. And it scared the shit out of me because I thought she was going to eat my face. Stick to sports.
Speaking of lookalikes, someone walked up to me this weekend on a Saturday night after I went to a dinner, successful dinner, if you were wondering.
Good to hear.
But I was out afterwards, and someone walked up to me and asked if I was El Phantasma. Phantasma. Have you ever heard of this guy? El Phantasma.
No.
It's I guess it's a famous Mexican singer.
Mm.
They asked me if I was El Phantasma. Yeah.
You do not.
It was interesting.
I don't know.
You don't look very Mexican to me.
No,
but I looked them up and I kind of see a tiny resemblance a little bit.
Aaron.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Aaron.
El Phantasma.
Did you learn any of his songs since Saturday?
You know what? My Spanish is very limited. It is
okay.
It's not crazy.
Kind of a.
It's not terrible. Like if you threw a cowboy hat on,
right?
You kind of would look like that guy.
Yeah. I mean, in my past life, I did work in the service industry, so the Spanish that I know is probably Spanish I shouldn't be saying out loud to other people. So,
All right.
Let's not do that again. Let's not do that again.
So that
This
was
is about the time. This is about the time. Yeah, we're not going to go there.
that was Brent's thoughts on camp and the
Chad,
scrimmage.
Chad, would you agree? Kind of similar. And everyone's going to say, "Wow, he said all positive things." I mean, I think the only holdups are the fact that defense has such an advantage during camp. I think, and I think it's been reiterated a few times. I think even last year we touched on the fact that the defense had some, a lot of positive things to say about them.
Defense was also a top 3 defense in the country.
Oh, for sure. Well, but I'm saying
if this defense is a top 3 defense in the country,
yeah,
we're gonna be all right.
Yeah,
we're gonna be all right.
Big plays might be had, but I think that as a whole, the defense is
I don't
very,
even think
very
that
strong.
it's the big plays might be had. It's just that there weren't any.
Right.
Last year.
No, yeah.
Just there's going to be a couple. Like it's going to happen occasionally.
Right.
Except for last year when it didn't
happen.
You don't get to be
until Alabama.
Maybe 7 times.
Yeah, but Alabama, they weren't splash playing all over the place.
I mean,
those were where the big plays came.
Notre Dame had like a 40-yard touchdown pass. Indiana had like a 40-yard sweep.
Brent, you remember all of them, which tells you how few
exactly
there were.
Yeah.
They were the number 1 pass efficiency defense in the country.
Yep.
Because nobody could go over the top. Exactly.
And a lot of that also had to do with the ability to get a pass rush on to speed up everything. And I think that is where you got to look a little bit in the beginning, but I think that the staff is just so smart, and they're knowing that they've got to figure out things to kind of stymie that or come up with different ways to not cover it up, but kind of do what the effectiveness that had last year. So from what I saw, there's no glaring weakness where you're like, I'm so nervous at this part of the team heading into Arkansas. There really is not that. And I think at this point, you've got to be really pumped about that. Yeah, and also, I think on top is everyone's mentality heading into that game. Just kind of secondhand hearing what players and the staff kind of just their MO heading into that game and into the season as a whole. You guys have mentioned it with all the mottos and the slogans. It all has so much purpose behind it, and just the whole mindset is exactly where you want it to be with this team. It's not that mindset of, oh, we're better than everyone else. We're that G5 team that went to the college football playoff. No, it's just we got to keep going. We got to keep reloading. So
we can't lose the standard that was set.
Right.
Like those guys left it to us to carry the torch. Not we're satisfied with where we got. So yeah. I will say today the most impressive play of camp today being the perfect 60-yard touchdown pass to Chris Scott. The second most would be Corey Kiner going outside to the left and looking like he was going to have some trouble and hitting the circle button, the quick spin move, and then running 50 yards uncontested down the field. It was one of those, this dude's a little different. This dude, Miles Montgomery, you're playing with the standard, the juke and the turbo button. Mm-hmm. He does have, I saw his Euro step again today. He brought the Euro step back out today that we talked at the beginning of camp. But Corey's got all the buttons.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's more fun to play with a guy that has all the buttons.
Dokes had a killer spin move. And then I feel like Kiner's got a mix of Mike Warren and a mix of Dokes.
He looks like Mike Warren. I think his game's quite a bit different than Mike Warren.
Right.
But the way he's built, his stature, how he looks when he's standing next to the quarterback.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Mike Warren.
Right. He's exciting. That's all I got to say about Corey Kiner. He is exciting. But are we time-stamping this portion? Did we cover the test questions, Aaron? Did we pass with flying colors?
We have until January to find out.
Oh, well, technically yes, because
But actually, we're speaking on what we saw in practice, so we're right.
Maybe September 3rd. How about that?
This conversation is as good as preseason polls.
Oh man, and also what
you asked all the questions.
I'm just mean the follow up.
Yeah.
Well, we're right. It's based on our observations.
Can't wait for you to hold Brinix in about an hour. She's ready. She's ready.
She's gonna be Triumph, the insult comic dog.
Yeah, she's gonna be telling you, "Oh,
I will poop on you."
You think that part was stinky? Wait until you hold me, buddy.
With a cigar in her mouth.
Wait till you hold me.
I will poop on you.
Guys, should we say that I was in attendance at the Smith League championship game? Should we say that?
No, because you weren't.
Okay. All right.
But you watched it.
They had it on YouTube. I was able to take a little bit in.
I watched some of it. Oh, the quality of basketball was awful,
dude. But I'll be honest with you. I thought about that too. But I would
so bad.
I would take that basketball over what I was watching when Jarrett Hensley and that Team USA was out in
bad too.
The other country, because it's just like, at least you've got some high level athleticism on both teams. Some guys getting up and down, and some people making some threes on both sides as well. You know what I mean? It's just like take either side of basketball as you want. But yeah, no, I agree. But
again,
whatever you have,
this is the Brent show, because I watched a little bit of it and I couldn't.
Oh, I don't have much to say about it. I kind of posted just in that thread a little bit about what I kind of dug out. Davenport had 29 points, went 4 of 12 from 3. Nolly had 22 points, went 6 of 11 from 3. But, JD did have a double-double with 11 boards was what I had. But a lot of those rebounds, like you said, Chad, the it's those rebounds that bounce once and it rolls to you type thing instead of, having to aggressively go after it. But, I thought JD was very active, kind of just, wanted to affect the game in every way. He went on a bit of a dry spell at one point from 3, but he did not slow down one bit. He kept driving to the hole, backdoor cutting, catching some oops here and there. I thought that he affected the game every way that he wanted to, especially on the offensive side. Landers is going to be a very, very big piece of the team. If he was hunting his shot like JD was, sure, they only had one. JD only attempted one more 3 than Landers did, but JD was also driving a bunch. Landers kind of was, he was driving, but also was distributing the ball at times. Landers just looks like a guy who knows what he needs to do on the court when he's out there.
He's a basketball player.
Yeah, he's an absolute basketball player. Like defensively, you can easily come up with steals in that setting by just simply being in between your man and the ball. Just simple IQ. And he got 2 of his 3 steals from that. And another one, he was out on the perimeter, and it was a guy driving, on the baseline, and he just, he ducked down, had active hands, tipped the ball away, and stole it. You know what I mean? It's just like IQ plays. He had 4 assists. 3 of those were just IQ plays. And 6 of 11 from deep. He caught fire at the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter and kind of just took over the game and was hunting a shot during that time. And you could tell if that's the Landers Nolly that you get in a 10-minute stage in a certain game, he could take over a game. And I'm excited to see what he brings, because sure, the value of basketball wasn't high level, but there was still a lot of good players on the court. You know what I mean? Like talented players, if you will. McMillan's dad went out. What's his nickname? Mad Dog. I think he scored like 40 points, just splashing threes, but doesn't play any defense. But it was good to see them win a championship. Good to see JD knock down some shots. Highly active. Landers, same thing. He's a guy that, and Steve and I agree. I was watching the stream, and I was like, when it's shaking, because I wasn't listening to it. When it's shaking, you got to like rewind it, rewatch it to see who it was that was doing each plays. But I thought overall, a lot more positive things to take away for a summer league game out of Jeremiah Davenport and Landers Nolly than there was negative. And I think if that's the case, then I think in all it's all positive. I'll continue saying that P word, but it is, because you could come away and be like, they looked real sloppy. They were turning the ball over a bunch, missed a bunch of shots, were taking ill-advised ones. They kind of just didn't do that. It was kind of just, they both played their part. They both won a championship. Sure, it was a summer league championship, but they affected the game in positive ways instead of just going out there and doing nothing. So I think in all, just take away, it's a championship one. Hopefully it's the first of many this year, and they roll into the season.
Yes.
Agreed. It was bad basketball.
I mean, it wasn't horrible, but yes, it was bad.
It was bad.
I've watched
it
worse.
Was horrible.
I've watched worse.
That's on you.
I mean, there were
just saying. That's on you.
Some games at ECU. I think you watched those too, but I'm joking. But yeah.
There was some St. John, UC St. John's games.
Oh man. What was his name? D'Angelo Harrison, I think.
Oh. Those were big. Amir Garrett.
Yeah.
He was.
How about that? Teams. He was on those teams. Some sad endings to those as well. But I guess if we're on the basketball front,
we're going to get to it in the mailbag. Let's not do a whole.
Okay. We will not bring up IC right now. We will bring up IC in the mailbag. Aside from that, I don't think there's anything else. Basketball team still not in town doing workouts, right?
No, I think they come back next week.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. But yeah, aside from that, it's I guess it's time for the mailbag if we don't have anything else. Football, basketball recruiting, but I mean, obviously the basketball recruiting, we'll get to it in the mailbag.
Yeah. If you want to sponsor the timestamps, you want to sponsor the mailbag, my DMs are always open.
Yep. That's right.
All right.
I guess, Aaron, it's your time to shine, baby.
I just finished pasting everything. Normally I do that during our first segment, but since I was the one asking all of the questions in the first segment, just got done pasting all the questions. So, first and foremost, on the football side of the mailbag, what scheme or technique changes have jumped out at you from this group of new coaches?
I'm not that smart. It looks like a Mike Tressel defense. Like, if you're asking me how have the defensive linemen changed their hand placement under Walt Stewart, I don't know.
Chad, I think the 12 personnel thing, 13 personnel, and then the rush end type thing with getting Ivan out there, I think those would be the only ones that I would say is like, I guess, somewhat schematic.
Yeah, I mean, but with the Jaheim thing makes sense because you don't have a Myjai Sanders. You don't have like an edge rusher, a stand-up guy that's job is to just get past the tackle and get to the quarterback. Like, that's more out of necessity than it is like scheme.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the other alternative would be, because essentially what they're doing when they do that is they're just sliding Jabari Taylor inside one spot. They're bringing Jaheim outside,
taking away
bringing Ivan Pace on the field, taking a generally the nickel or sometimes one of the safeties off the field, depending on the personnel that you're looking at. I think that's more roster related than it is new coach related. Because again, Mike Tressel's not new. He got here last year.
Right.
The 12 personnel stuff with Gino is newer to Gino, but it's not like Denbrock didn't use 12 personnel with Lenny and Josh on the field. We're seeing a little bit more of it right now. But yeah, Yeah, you've got two
NFL
awesome
players.
tight ends.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you're trying to get them on the field as often as possible.
All right. Also from NKY Slim, I know in the past, Fick said he liked to sit in with different offensive player meetings. Any idea what group he is sitting in on?
He bounces around. I mean, he does like to be in with, and I am not in the meetings, and I'm not going to ask him.
What meetings you been sitting in on, Coach?
What groups you been hanging out with, huh? What's up? I would guess quarterbacks a lot, especially like the reason he did that when he talked about doing that was to build a better relationship with Dez.
Right.
You've got a new quarterback coming in. I could see Fick definitely putting an emphasis on rebuilding, especially with Gino now as the offensive coordinator. I could see that as well.
All right. From Cincy Ice, has Chad received feedback on which players are on the NFL's radar going into this season?
Not a ton. I mean, they're going to be looking at obviously all the older guys. Jawan Briggs is interesting to them. Ben Bryant is going to be interesting to them because quarterback is always of interest. Javon Hicks. Wilson Huber, Malik and Jabari, Arquan. There's a bunch of guys that are on that periphery. It's not like last year where it's like there's 5 or 6 guys we're pretty sure are NFL level good at the top of the roster.
You say Renfro and Metz?
Renfro would have to come out early. I mean, this is his true junior season. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. But I mean, generally, like those guys, Renfro is clearly somebody at a critical NFL position at center, right. Somebody to have their eye on. I don't know that right now it's like, where Sauce was at this point in time last year, where it was like, this is Sauce's last year in college.
Or James Hudson the year before.
Yeah, we knew that. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it'll be interesting. Metz, I mean, he hasn't been on the field a ton. Like we're seeing it increase. He is, especially since Cam Jones got hurt, we're seeing more of Metz, regularly second team right tackle.
I guess I'm looking at the actual question and just guys that would be on an NFL team's radar as opposed to just.
I don't know. I don't think Metz is like, at this point, I don't think he's at the top of the list. I think right now what's happening is they're trying to get a grasp of who are all these guys that we didn't have on our list that we need to have on our list. I think that's more of what's happening. Like last year when the NFL scouts came, it was tell us about Sauce, tell us about Dez, tell us about. This year it's like, why don't you let us know
we need to know about.
Who we need to know about when we get out there, and we'll start watching from there. I think it's I think the scenarios are a little bit flipped, which you would expect because those were all the guys that were stars on an undefeated regular season team in 2020 that all came back.
I also wonder how much more respect Luke has from NFL scouts after sending 9 to the NFL last year. A Brian Cook,
they always have. The scouting community has always had a huge respect for Luke because of why? Because they used to go to Ohio State and see all the kids that, like, Luke was the one getting the lowest rated kids in the class that were all going to the NFL. Like, the scouting community knows Luke Fickell has an elite eye for what they're looking for.
Okay.
That's not, I'm just saying, You're right. I'm just saying that's not new in the scouting community. They've known for a long time. Luke knows, Luke has a good eye for, and that's why we're here. We all know that, right? Like, that's why we're here.
Tunstall and Mardner, too, I think would be two other names.
Yeah. Tunstall, dude, I've been so impressed. Like, we just don't talk about him. Like, it just, left tackle's just, okay. I talked about that with Renfro today. A year ago, we were worried about left tackle.
Right.
And we're at a point now where it's like, left tackle's good.
All right. From Bearcat CB, I think a lot of us are looking to bet the UC Arkansas game. Just a friendly reminder that Ohio will have betting as of January 1st, 2023. Most
That's
places.
That's after.
I understand. Just
the UC Arkansas game. I'm just
clarification purposes.
But you You drive through Indiana to get to Arkansas, so
you can make the bet as you're driving through.
You have about 3 hours to make that bet on the track there.
Most places have UC about an 8-point dog. You taking the points or laying? Well, Brent, I think you're the one who places the most sports bets of the three of us.
I mean, I would take the points, and then also I'm picking UC both times. Taking the points, sprinkling a little bit on the money line. That would be what I'm doing.
All right.
And depending on what the over-under is, might take the under.
I think right now it's at 52.
Taking the under.
I think that's what somebody said. I think I saw that on the board. I think somebody said it was up over 50.
So Arkansas gave up a bunch of points last year, and they're probably basing that off of thinking that Cincinnati's defense lost a bunch, and then Arkansas gave up a bunch of points last year. Well, we see what happens when Luke Fickell wants to go out and just win a football game.
Yeah, but you're still going to be in a situation with a lot of guys that are the bullets are going to be flying for the first time.
Right. No, I agree.
As a unit.
Yeah.
Some individually, but as a unit, that was the thing that made last year so elite, I think.
Yeah.
Is those guys have played so many snaps as a unit over a 2-year stretch. Yeah, and yes, there were a couple changes, but not like this.
Right.
Those guys were ready for anything. We'll see if it takes this team a little bit to really like connect.
Yeah.
And be able to say, okay, when we need a play from Brian Cook, we get a play from Brian Cook. When we need a play from Javon Hicks, we get a play from Javon Hicks.
Right.
We need a play from Huber, or we need a play from, Jaheim, or if it's Shep or JQ, or if it's Arquan. Like, that team felt like always had an answer. Is this team going to be ready to have answers right out of the gate on the road in an SEC environment? If they do, woo!
So Traylon Burks had literally like half of the receptions that half of all the receiving stats that KJ Jefferson had through to last year.
Yeah.
And I guess how much Jaden Hazelwood, who's a transfer from Oklahoma, he was a top 5 player in his class coming out of high school. I guess how quickly he's used and how he is, how they do use him. Is it going to be exactly in a Burks type situation? I think Arkansas has questions to answer as well, just like Cincinnati does. So, but I will be taking Cincinnati, sprinkle a little bit on the money line to answer the question.
All right. Is a change in tone and coaching that big of a good thing? Could imagine Cummings and Combs not allowing anyone to not give their all.
I mean,
I think Perry dug a lot out of the cornerbacks too, but
yeah, I mean, coaching changes are never, especially when you have a staff as good as last year, like they're never a good thing.
Right.
Now, there are a lot of good coaches out there, so you can dip into that well, and I think they have. I think they found a really good offensive line coach. I like what I've seen from Nate Letton as he's taken over that tight end room. Carey is obviously Carey. Like there's a lot of promise. And I think I also think it was a good year to have it happen.
Yeah. Right.
Because there was already so much turnover that was going to be inevitable that maybe if you've got a bunch of voices that are going to change, this would be a good year to have it happen. But I mean, if Mace was still here and Marcus was still here, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. Like I think Denbrock, his track record shows he's been an amazing tight end coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what coaches, except for maybe the previous regime, what coach is going to get by under Luke Fickell by letting guys just coast? That ain't how this works.
Because then Luke would become that position coach for the time being.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Joe Huber or Cook? Chad, who would you fight? Who are you fighting in a dimly lit basement?
Neither.
There's your answer.
If I had to fight one of those two guys in a dimly lit basement, I would hire Armorion Smith to walk into that dimly lit basement, and I'd feel pretty good about my chances.
Spear out of nowhere. UC Fan 3 asks, I'm curious if it helps BCJ more if we listen to podcasts versus YouTube. Maybe there is no difference.
There's a slight difference. The podcast, we've already got that money via sponsorships. The YouTube, the clicks on YouTube is what gets you paid. We've had some opportunities to monetize the podcast in that fashion, but many of them would require us to alter the format and nature of these shows, and we're not going to do that.
Commercials and
we're not going to do that. So I have chosen not to fully monetize the podcast on the audio side. The YouTube side, there's really no way around that. So if you watch on YouTube, it makes us a little bit more money, yes. Just like if you're at work, just click on it and let the YouTube video run in the background.
Did want to mention here as well that Twitch is also, you're able to watch the videos now on Twitch. Yeah. They're archived. Thanks to all of the people who've been tuning in to either the podcasts here on Twitch or Chad's Fall Guys, I think, has been your go-to at this point.
I mean, I haven't really developed a go-to. I haven't had enough time to play because camp.
All right. But the more people we get watching, listening there on Twitch as well, the more stuff we can do with the Twitch channel. So something to be said for that. Where are your areas of concern? About halfway through camp, I'm curious what and where are your areas of concern? I'm thinking more so about position groups, not individual players. And where are you feeling surprisingly better than you felt coming into camp?
I think offensive line, we're still waiting to see what that final, this is our 5.
How much with the offensive line has been altered due to injury at this point?
I mean, Metz is really the only injury.
Cam Jones.
Yeah, but he was running with he was
not that he was going to be a starter. I just with the shuffle.
Yeah, I mean, once you can't really ever answer that question on the offensive line until these are our 5, and those 5 get a chance to become the 5. So I think they're still in that process a little bit. So that's a little concerning. Corner, until they go live, I guess here's the thing with corner. There's going to be a drop. Because you had 2 of the elite corners in the country. And a nickel, that was one of the better nickel corners in the country. And those guys are in the NFL making a lot of money right now in Sauce and Kobe. There's going to be a drop. How much? That's why we've been talking about corner from the day the Cotton Bowl ended, right? Like, it's an area of concern. Until they're out there and making plays or getting beat, one of the two, we know there's going to be a drop. The level of significance, we'll find out. I'm feeling better about safety. I think safety is, it is unprecedented what UC has had at safety over the past 4 years, right? Wiggins, Forrest, Cook, Hicks. Hicks is still there. But the bigger thing for me at safety was it always felt like there was very little behind what was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it was if there was Hicks, if something happened to Defoe or Wiggins. But there wasn't anything beside Hicks. And then with Cook and Hicks, did you feel great about, like, I don't know if Jacob Dingle was ready yet. Brian Prince was a true freshman. Like, I've always felt like that depth at safety hasn't matched the depth everywhere else, even though that might have been like where they were best at the ones through some of this stretch. Now I feel like Threats, Dingle, Armorion Smith, Isaiah Cox is coming on. Ethan Wright's going to be a stud at safety.
He is
going to be a stud. Every time they put him on the field, he's around the ball making plays.
Glimpses of Brian Cook.
I don't know if he's as...
I'm not the one who said it.
I know. I don't know if he is, and maybe he will be. We just haven't seen a lot of him yet. Cook had such a natural instinct on where to be and how to get there in as violent a manner as possible, right? Like, Cook was coming 1,000 miles an hour, and he was going to blow you up.
Yep.
I don't know if, we'll see if Ethan has that in him. But I feel like safety, man, I feel really good long-term about safety right now. We haven't even gotten into, Pat Body,
right?
Who looks great. Oliver Bridges, who right now is at corner and looks like he could jump straight to linebacker.
Cox is...
Yeah, I talked about Cox. There's a bunch of, all of a sudden, that room, and guess what? We joke about, oh my God, they've recruited 36 defensive backs in the past 3 years. Well, that's starting to pay off. You're starting to get dividends from those recruiting hauls as guys come into the program and get a chance. So I feel much better about safety than I did before camp, because I tell you guys this all the time. I got to see it. Don't just tell me this guy's going to be good or this guy should be good. I got to go watch practice and say, oh, yeah, I see it now. I see what they're talking about. I see it translating on the field. So I feel good about safety long-term. I think those are my answers to that question.
Anything to add, Brent?
No. Good.
All right. Well, that wraps up the football portion of the mailbag. And we are moving on to basketball.
Let's go.
Sorry, time stamping and switching banners.
This is this is what everyone has been waiting for right here, baby.
Are there any AAC basketball opponents you'll miss seeing UC play regularly once they move to the Big 12? Maybe a venue you'd be bummed to see you won't see the Bearcats in as much going forward.
I mean, the easy answer is Memphis, right?
I don't know. I feel like as much as they've done going to the Shockers home court.
I was going to say, there's this place that they call the Roundhouse, Charles Cook Arena.
I was never going to Wichita, Kansas to see a basketball game.
No, but I think I'll be bummed that they aren't going to be winning games at Wichita State.
Aesthetically pleasing.
If Greg Marshall was still there, sure.
What a
I don't
terrible
feel
human.
the same things about Wichita State as I used to.
Got a good point there.
What a terrible human.
Right. To see UC go into the Roundhouse and kick his ass regularly, yes, I'm bummed we don't get to see that anymore, but that was taken away from us 2
By
years
him.
ago. By him.
I mean, how aesthetically pleasing was that one game?
Jaren's game?
The year that
The
Jacob
end of the regular season.
Yes, last game of the year. When they had all the their
conference championship on the line.
Nasir Brooks gets out, get a hand up, and
I
mean that is one of the more aesthetically pleasing games I've ever watched. Jacob Evans hitting threes with one leg, and just it was.
I will miss like SMU with like when they first renovated that place. And they used to have like the guy in the crab outfit, and like they were all the student section was right behind the bench. Chuck Meshock almost got in a fight with SMU students.
Yeah.
Like that was.
I'll never forget that one damn game where, since he was riding that long win streak.
No, it opened. It was the opening game of that arena.
Yeah.
It was the first game in that place.
SK senior year.
Yeah.
And oh man.
And got smoked.
Got smoked there.
I mean, Chad, you brought up Memphis as being the place you'll be bummed you won't see the Bearcats. I'm not going to miss that court at all.
Look, dude, did you ever go to Memphis for a conference tournament?
What's that?
Did you ever go to Memphis for the conference tournament?
I was in Memphis for a bachelor party during the conference tournament, and
you never made it in.
We were just late because we spent too much time at Maker's Mark on the way down. So, shocker.
I miss that was always a great event, and I miss going to Gus's Fried Chicken. Let's be honest, this is just about Gus's Fried Chicken because it allows me to mix up. Like if I'm going to eat chicken every day, like once a year, I want to eat different fried chicken
every day.
Every day.
Chad, I can't. We are missing the clear and blatantly obvious answer to this question: is the trips to Greenville on a Sunday at 11 a.m.
Tulsa. Wasn't it Mo who talked about how bad Tulsa was?
Yeah.
So.
Oh hey, you're playing the Pirates, and it's.
I'll do it again. I'll do it again.
I mean, I'll tell you. What them or Tulsa, I would say, is right up there at the top two that I hate. That I am extremely happy that no longer they will be a part of, because every game at UCF and at USF I normally went to for the most part.
And you're in Florida.
And you're in
the winter.
Right.
But
man, Greenville
and Tulane, at least you're in Nolens.
And the Bearcats would always take over the game at that high school game.
Because you're in New Orleans, and the students are like, hell yeah, I'll go to New Orleans for a night. Let's go.
Man, Tulsa. Oh, I hated those games. Hated those games.
All right. Thoughts on Brandon Jenkins' comment saying Collier is down to UC and USC.
And now is where we sign off, Aaron. We just sit back and let Chad soothe us. Go ahead, Chad.
Look, how long have I been telling you guys that USC is my primary concern?
The whole time.
Has it not been 3, 4, 5, 6 months? I've been telling you guys USC is like
no one talks.
Keep an eye on them because they're the primary concern if he goes west.
I'm not sure anyone has talked to you, Chad, more than I have in this space, especially.
Yeah.
That about USC and Isaiah Collier.
My information to this point on a recruitment that has been as tough to read as anything, my information has been on point. Like I've always felt the biggest threat was USC. Did I think Michigan could make a charge late? Yes. Would I rule out Michigan? Like, I don't totally buy the Brandon Jenkins comment that he's down to USC and UC. Like, because I think Michigan is still somewhat of a factor. It's the most recent
dark horse.
I think there's a lot to sell there. I think if you want to play in the NBA, like Juwan Howard is a guy that you could want to play for, that you could build a pretty good connection with. I just look, I've had you guys as informed as anybody in the country. And I know, because I've seen the message boards throughout this process that have relayed the messages from the other schools that have been involved throughout. It's this, it's that, it's this. Oh no, what new information? Now it's this. It was that, now it's this. It was this, now it's that. We're in the lead. Oh, maybe we're not in the lead. Everybody has been all over the board. And I've been steadfast in what I've reported. I've been steadfast in everything I've said about this recruitment. Do I think USC is the biggest threat? Yeah, I've thought USC is the biggest threat for a long time. And I've said as much. Do I have a good feel for where he goes? No, I don't. And do I think, like, I know the popular thing now is to say a decision is coming soon. Soon is
it's relative
term. Soon next week, soon, like sometime between next week and the early signing period is what I read as soon. Things haven't changed on my end. Like I made a bunch of calls today, made some calls out west, made some calls locally, made some calls down in Atlanta. I don't think anything has really changed at this point. And I know, like, if you saw his social media activity today, one of his best friends just died. Like, like,
sad.
It's impossible to go through for a kid.
Right.
I don't think anything in this thing is predictable. If he put up a graphic that said he was announcing next week, it wouldn't surprise me. If we don't hear of an announcement until October or November, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, they've done that good of a job keeping things under wraps. But what did we talk about? Having time to sit down with his family and really dissect and break down where he was at since his Michigan visit. What has happened since then? He has returned to basketball. He went to San Francisco and won MVP at the Steph Curry camp.
Beast.
He went straight to Chicago for the Under Armour Elite 24.
Mm-hmm.
He won MVP at the Under Armour Elite 24. Hit a step back, walk-off step back 30-footer to win that crown. And now he's got to go fucking bury his best friend. Like, nobody knows. Nobody knows. If they tell you they know, they're wrong.
Right.
Because this thing is being done on a timeline that's specific to that family.
Yeah.
And that family has not made it public what that timeline is. So we'll see. I don't have anything better for you. I guess here's the best thing I could say if you're a UC fan and you're wondering how this is playing out. You know what the Michigan people thought? It's down to Michigan and UC. You know what the UCLA people thought? It's down to UCLA and UC. You know what the UC people and the national people, I think, or the USC people and the national people are thinking? It's down to USC and Cincinnati.
Right.
There's one constant in all that. Maybe they don't get it done. Maybe, the mom and those influences and being back out in LA and being close to her family, maybe that wins out.
Right.
But you can't deny that Wes Miller and his staff have done a phenomenal job identifying the talent, building the relationship across the spectrum, high school, AAU, family, selling the kid on their vision. And now the kid is going to be a top 3 player in the class. And from what I'm hearing, I don't know if it's going to be 24/7. I know he's in the conversation. One of these services is moving him to number 1. There's going to be a place that Isaiah Collier is the number 1 basketball player in the country when this cycle is all said and done.
At the end of the day, this staff did what the fan base has been begging every single coach since Bob Huggins to do, and that's go after an elite level kid. So you win some on these and you lose some on these. You're not going to get every elite level kid, but the fact that they put their best foot forward, identified it all, like you said, and got this far, hell of a job by the staff. Next question. Isaiah Collier would be the biggest recruit since ...
Lance easily.
Lance, DeMar.
Yeah, like Lance and then back to DeMar. I think those are the two. Lance was as big he had his own reality show. He had a famous nickname, and then DeMar was the next big thing. DeMar changed the game.
They were asking if he was going to go pro after his junior year.
Yeah. DeMar changed the game because he was what we see now all the time. He was a 6'9" shooting guard.
He was Kevin Durant before Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And then, because since the 247 has compiled rankings, it's Lance, and then you look at number 2, and you're saying, all right, this conversation is going to end at Lance, and then we're going to bring up DeMar. That's about it.
And Kenny Satterfield was right there near the top of his class as well, but DeMar was the dude. Kenny Satterfield was, at that point in time, the New York City point guard was a thing, a major thing.
Yep.
And that was Kenny. So, but Lance and then DeMar for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. And that is the basketball portion of the mailbag.
Isn't Jalen Thompson committing tomorrow? Yes. And there's a reason we haven't talked a lot about it because
you win some, you lose some.
I don't think it's going to be UC.
All right. The Banks portion of the mailbag. Good evening, gents. Today we are doing the opposite of rapid fire. What is one place you have not visited and you want to before Aaron passes away?
So this means we have to do rapid fire, right? Because he asked us to do rapid fire and we don't. So that means this needs to be rapid fire, right? That's what he's trying to get out of us. So maybe we double reverse whammy him and we do like a 20-minute
Uno reverse card?
Yeah, maybe we Uno reverse card him.
Yeah. I don't know. Hawaii for me is the place that I want to visit before I die.
I think Hawaii would be up there. I've visited most of the places I want to visit. That's kind of who I am. If I want to do something, I do it. So yeah, Hawaii. I haven't been to Hawaii. I'd love to go to Hawaii.
I've got Rome, Prague, Santorini.
New Zealand. I've heard awesome things about New Zealand.
It's New Zealand like Australia where everything there wants to kill you?
Scary animals.
A little less Australia because there's not the outback, I guess. It's close. It's close. So I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that wants to kill you there.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's kangaroos looking to square you up.
Oh man. Koalas looking all cute and cuddly, trying to pull out your intestines.
Yeah. You put another shrimp on the barbie.
Follow-up question. If you are on death row, what would you have for your last meal?
A perfectly grilled tomahawk ribeye. And a baked potato.
Oh.
And maybe a salad.
Oh, a salad.
Like if I'm having steak and potato, I'd like a salad with it.
Okay.
I didn't say it's going to be healthy salad. Like I'm going to put some fattening ass dressing on it. It's my last meal.
That tastiest ranch.
Drown it in ranch.
No, I'm going to drown it in hot bacon and honey mustard from Rafferty's. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
What's Rafferty's?
It's kind of a chain restaurant that started like it's just basically like in the South, Kentucky, Tennessee. There's one in Florence. And
that's their house.
Do you know what hot bacon is?
Yeah.
It's just basically bacon grease with like chunks of bacon in it. And they have a homemade a homemade honey mustard that's phenomenal. Right. And you just dump a cup of each on your salad.
Oh yeah.
So a salad, like a Rafferty's house salad, a perfectly medium rare tomahawk ribeye, and a baked potato.
Aaron, I know yours is galactic fried chicken with galactic sauce. So
I thought about making that joke, but that ain't it.
I made it before you. Go ahead.
I think I'd go like several lobster rolls and several crab cakes and just load up on seafood.
Okay.
But I have been crabby lately.
That's fine.
Yeah, you have had some sand in your
nailed it.
Yeah. That's fine.
You've been quite a beach lately.
You're so corny.
Pretty good, yeah.
How are you not a dad?
Is that pretty good?
How are you not a dad?
Hey man, we're out here trying.
Aaron, imagine the level of dad joke from him when he becomes a dad, if he becomes a dad.
I think that's when I figure out something else
to do.
Busy on Monday nights. Kids got sports. She's 2. Yeah, she's got sports.
She's like golfing.
You should see her set. She's playing volleyball now.
Yeah, she's volleyballing it. Shoot, man, I love food, man. That's a hard question, but I think I'd go probably the steak route, and then I'd probably do something lobster-like. Yes, with you as well, Aaron.
A little surf and turf.
You know what? I like a good ribeye as well. Bone-in ribeye. I don't know though. I like cream spinach. I like all those sides, but I might go crazy and give me a couple chili cheese dogs from Skyline on the side, and then maybe toss in a German chocolate cake. And
that's the best thing about it, right? You can have one bite of everything because it's
I'm gonna meal. Dude, I'd probably order so much.
Dessert's important here. I think I'd go I've said before, like a skillet chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah,
with
chocolate
ice
chip
cream
cookie.
And
right.
Like some chocolate over the top.
You know what? I'd probably get so much food that they'd be like, "Are you done eating yet?" And it'll be 10 years later, and they'll just forget about me. I'll just be eating 10-year-old food.
You've just been eating your last meal for 10 days or 10 years.
It's time to let me go, guys.
Can I get chicken parm? Can I get chicken parm on that? And I love Italian. I got to decide my favorite sandwich. Is it an Italian or is it a Cuban?
Why don't you bring me a Philly cheesesteak from Philly?
Yeah, that would be up there on the. Ooh, that's a good one. Skins. Favorite sandwich. I could debate favorite sandwich for a week.
Same.
A week.
Last PS.
PS is Aaron going to be at the BCJ meetup later this month asking for a friend. What date is that?
Friday the 26th.
Didn't even know that there was a thing. What is this BCJ meetup?
We're doing a happy hour at the Holy Grail Friday the 26th. I get off radio at 6. I should be there by 6:20, 6:30. We're just gonna hang out, have some beverages, meet the crew. I've talked to a couple dignitaries that are gonna grace us with their presence.
Oh.
One of them might be able to answer questions about the new locker room.
Oh.
One of them might be able to answer questions about the football recruiting department.
Oh. Shout out.
So, one of them might be an answer to a question we just had in this mailbag.
Oh, Skins.
That's the mailbag.
Well, Aaron, you didn't even answer the question.
Are you going to be there?
I don't know. There's a kid. There's some things going on, and we gotta get those taken care of, and we'll see.
You got to start Brennix's volleyball career somehow. Let's have her come meet the volleyball coach. Let's get this thing rolling.
I don't know that the volleyball coach is going to be at the meetup.
Yeah, it's a maybe. It's a maybe.
Maybe.
It's a maybe.
Maybe I'll hit up Blake and we'll see if we can get Jordan there with her gold medal.
Oh,
that's not going to happen, but
yeah.
there are going to be some former Bearcats, I think, gracing us with their presence on that Friday night down at the Banks.
If it's at the Holy Grail, I mean, is camp over at that point?
Yeah.
Okay, so there may be some guys working, depending on.
I don't think they work in season. I think
Okay.
that's an off season deal.
Joel comes back just for that one night.
He's got a real job.
Right.
Yeah, he's got a real job now. He doesn't have to roll up giant thick cardboard boxes.
I don't put it past him doing that out in Seattle for fun.
No, I'm telling you, he was like, this is how I now train my hands.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying he may still be out doing it at Seattle, like just walking into random bar. You guys got some old cases.
You got those cases. He does it in front of the
Can I just take him back to my apartment?
gotta get my hand workout in.
Yeah, he's handed that off to Jack Dingle. Dingle's the one in there now, just rolling those puppies up. But yeah,
Wouldn't put it past him.
Anything else in closing, guys? If someone stuck around since at 2:11, are you gonna sprinkle any reward for the late listeners? Anything? Nothing.
No, I think we're pretty good.
Aaron, I'm excited to hear what Brennix is going to do to you now, and hopefully all is well. But guys, another good one.
Your white shirt looks great,
Daddy.
for me to poop on.
Here is sludge. Slinging sludge on your white shirt like Brett McMurphy does on the AP poll. How about that?
Get us out of here.
All righty. Well, we opened up with the AP poll. We close with it as well. But aside from that, another really good show. Guys, another full week ahead. Stay locked into BCJ. More camp reports. I believe the final scrimmage is this Saturday as well. Wall-to-wall coverage of that. But aside from that, man, special shout-out to Danco Transmission. Big thank you to them as always. And for my broadcast buddies, good pals, good friends, Mr. Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel, I am Brent Young. Yet again, another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.